Su filosofía musical consiste en utilizar violines rotos, pues no importa qué tan rotos estén, como las personas, todavía son capaces de crear maravillas si se lo proponen. Desde Oklahoma hasta el Perú, hay quien salvaguarda antiguas tradiciones musicales y que al mismo tiempo interactúa y crea algo nuevo. Hoy, en Matices, Kyle Dillingham.
I spent a lot of time in my childhood with my grandfather on his farm, and he really loved the music of a famous band leader by the name of Bob Wills, and Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. He's known as the king of Western swing. Bob Wills' music was a mixture of American jazz, the swing music, and then the country music. And when I heard this music, it just excited me so much. It was led with this instrument, the violin. We call this, in traditional music in America, we call this the fiddle. So it was led with the fiddle. And I became so interested in this music. One day we were at a garage sale. And I was about 9 years old, and we found a violin that was for sale. And my parents bought it for me, and I was so excited because I was ready to play this music, this Western swing music. And my parents got me lessons, and I just never looked back. I loved it from the very beginning, and I was interested in spending lots of time with it. I feel sometimes like maybe I didn't choose the violin, but perhaps the violin chose me. Yeah, there's other instruments that I do play. I also perform and play on the guitar and bass, mandolin. I play a variety of bowed stringed instruments like the viola and a little bit of cello as well. And I do some percussion. But outside of music, I do have other interests that you sometimes think, what would happen if the worst case would happen and I'm not able to play music anymore, a terrible accident or whatever. But I've been known in my state of Oklahoma as Oklahoma's musical ambassador. And what that basically means is that I have used my music this is my 37th country to perform music in, but oftentimes I'm using musical diplomacy to help develop relationships, either for my state or for the U.S. government. And I've thought that I would enjoy, whether I'm using music or not, I love the idea of making connections between people all over the world and developing relationships. I think music is just a very powerful tool for doing that. Music very naturally brings people together, and it helps us to celebrate things that we have in common and things that we love. So maybe a career in diplomacy, and I also love languages. I speak French as a second language fluently. Puedo aprender español también, sí. Puedo hablar poco español, gracias a mi francés. Digo. But hopefully I have more opportunities to improve. I have a lot of room to improve. I define my music as Americana. And this is yet still a very broad category, but I think when people hear my music, they can't help but to have a feeling of America. They can't to sense and have that feeling of what America really is. And I always try to represent my country through my music. But I'm also a very eclectic musician, so I enjoy music from all over the world. So at the same time, so I think my music is very universal. I describe it as universal, eclectic, but always very high energy. Also I think I would describe my music as inspirational. I try with my music always to do more than just play, and perhaps even to show my abilities and talents on the instrument, but I like to use music as a way to communicate a broader message. I have one project, I'll just show you, I have one project called Broken Beyond Repair. And I take violins like this that are badly damaged, and the repair cost is greater than the replacement value of the instrument. But I take this violin and I make music on it to show that just like you and me, in our brokenness and in our imperfections, that there is still a unique beauty and a value in every person created in God's image, and how we can be used just as we are, with all of our brokenness and all of our flaws, to still create beauty in this world. I remember being very nervous. Anytime there's, in particular, I've played in front of royalty, so I performed for the King of Malaysia, and I performed for the Crown Princess of Thailand. And I remember there was a lot of very formal protocol where you have to walk in a certain way and have your hands in a certain way and say certain things and be very careful, and it created a lot of anxiety. Yet at the same time, you can't help but just to feel the excitement and the awe of that moment. You know, you realize that it's a rare occasion, and just to feel very humbled. I've always felt like perhaps there's many other musicians or performers that would that would merit the opportunity to do this. So I always feel very humbled and very proud to have the opportunity to have such a chance to meet and perform for these people. A great memory of mine, I was performing for the Princess of Thailand, and afterwards, after the show, there was a formal moment where I got to go out into the audience where she was seated and receive flowers. So she gave me a bouquet of flowers, and that moment was, I don't know, it was one that just, I felt my smile was as far as the east is to the west. Yeah. The future of contemporary violin, I think there's a lot of exploration into electronics. There's a lot of exploration into sound effects and all of the technology. How can we utilize technology? But the thing that I love exploring is the technology of sound, of strings vibrating, and the technology of the human touch and manipulating and creating sounds on an instrument. I think that there is a future for the violin that goes back to the foundation of the violin in an acoustic environment, where I think there's still plenty of things to explore. I think the violin is one of the most expressive instruments, when I play electric, and even with this violin, I have a pickup where I can plug in and go somewhat electric. It's still an acoustic instrument, but you're sending an electric signal. I become very bored when I play electric violin, because you're at this point you are now limited to the effects that are created electronically. And I think that there's such a world to be explored with the acoustic instrument. I like to, and it's sometimes surprising when I perform, and I watched even the reaction of some of the students last night at UPC, where I will strum, tap, or maybe there's a lot of things that can be done to create rhythm, to create sound and express ideas. And I think there's a future in kind of re-examining and exploring the acoustic mystique of the instrument. I did some searching on the internet, so I'd spent some time listening to some videos because, quite honestly, I don't have a chance to hear much about it, have many people talking to me about it. So I didn't really know. It was kind of a blind exploration, but I can tell you what I was thinking. I had imagining that for some reason or another that it would be very rhythmic. I imagined that it would that there would be. I kind of assumed or imagined it'd be very dance-like, and so far it seems to be the case. But like I say, I'm very excited to learn more about the Peruvian folk music. So maybe you can point me in a good direction.